The Cambodian Prime Minister and Thailand's acting Prime Minister agreed to a ceasefire starting midnight on July the 29th. While a visit by a delegation from Malaysia's armed forces to border areas on Monday suggested minor skirmishes had taken place after the ceasefire, both countries' military agreed during meetings to uphold the agreement and halt all military movement along the border ahead of a General Border Committee meeting on August the 4th in Phnom Penh. While this is good news in the interim, it suggests that a lot hinges on the outcome of the GBC meeting, which will be pivotal in the peace process. So we'll have to wait and see. However, claims that the conflict is over disputed territory, which has already been declared Cambodian by the International Court of Justice in 1962 and 2013, and the fact that to date Thailand has refused to accept this, suggests that the root cause of the conflict has not yet been resolved. A real resolution that would ensure long-term stability would be for Thailand to accept that the disputed area is Cambodian. Tensions started on May the 28th when a Cambodian soldier was killed by Thai troops on the border. Since then, tensions have been simmering until they flared on July the 24th when clashes broke out at the Odom-Yanchai border in the Tam Wan Thom temple area. This quickly spread to other border areas, triggering 5 days of deadly fighting. The most pertinent difference between this conflict and previous ones is the prevalence of social media today. This has caused a huge wave of misinformation and fake news to spread, which has fueled public tensions and animosity on both sides. A clear lack of Cambodian voices in the international media has also created the impression that Cambodia started the conflict, which is untrue. I'll echo the sentiment I hear constantly from Cambodians. Why would Cambodia want to start a conflict after enjoying decades of peace?
Why would Cambodia fire first when we are the ones who urged to bring this dispute to be resolved at the international court?
Why would Cambodia invade a much larger and stronger country?
Why would they want to enter war again? This is not them.
These most recent tensions have definitely presented a new conflict in the form of propaganda, misinformation and fake news, which has brought a new battlefield to navigate. We've also seen the mass return of migrant workers and students studying in Thailand, with many claiming they've been victims of discrimination there. Even amid a ceasefire, when will they be able to return without fear? Then there are the tens of thousands of families who've been displaced, uprooted and left without homes. This is much more widespread than the previous border conflict, which saw an estimated 36,000 people displaced. The broader implications are huge, and even if the ceasefire is maintained, will not be resolved overnight. Given that the French protectorate gifted the territory to Cambodia on its independence, I believe it does have a role to play in setting the record straight. I believe the international community as a whole has a role to play. While many nations and international organisations have officially expressed their support for a peaceful resolution, welcoming the ceasefire, these have just been words. We've seen little action taken in the form of leveraging economic or political tools to try and ease the situation. We recently visited an evacuation camp in Preah Vihear province, and the scale of displacement was shocking. The devastation being caused to innocent lives is heartbreaking, with an overwhelming number of children and elderly people at the camp. The provincial governor, who is also charged with overseeing the camp, told me that families started being evacuated there on June the 8th. However, since July the 24th, the volume of displaced people arriving there has been overwhelming, although as of July the 27th, it's stabilised. The majority of people we spoke to had been forced to flee with only the clothes on their back to escape the intense shelling. While they've been provided with aid in the form of a basic shelter, water and food, it's far from enough. Overnight, these people have been left homeless, lost their livelihoods and belongings, and their kids have been left without access to school. When we spoke to people, there was a mixture of fear, anger and helplessness. For many of the elderly, this is not their first time they've lived in camps, and after decades of peace, they never expected to once again be displaced. Even worse, they prayed that their children and grandchildren would never find themselves in this situation. The support from Cambodians has been incredibly overwhelming. We saw trucks constantly driving into the camp to deliver rice, instant noodles, tinned goods, medicine and other aid. However, it's not enough. These people are in desperate need of more food and aid. But more importantly, they need sustained peace and strong reassurance that if this ceasefire is successful, they can return home and not live in constant fear that this will happen again.